You have beef with Sami Zayn? This is wrestling beef. I like this shit.
I don't like Sami Zayn.
On a personal level.
Oh, on a very personal
what
level.
What happened with you with Sami Zayn?
Yeah. Sami Zayn, someone should like douse him with gasoline, light him on fire.
That bad? What did he do?
Sami Zayn, he's a backstabber. He's a two-faced jerk, a two-faced snake.
I can't tell what's real or what's not anymore.
No, this is real. No,
this is not kayfabe.
I'm the harbinger of truth. I would be doing a disservice to all your listeners if I was going to come on here and say something that wasn't true.
Yeah. Really, he's an asshole.
I've told the story many a times.
What? What? There's a story. I'm listening. Let's go.
Many a times.
Let's go. This gives me more of a reason to reach out to him because then he could come and talk about this story. What happened?
Yeah, you can bring him on. I'd love to. No, I wouldn't really. Could not care less.
I want to hear this.
And he'll tell you, but I'd be curious to know his version of it. So when I did my first tryout at TV in 2010, this would be at the second day. So we did Raw. The first day was in Toronto. Second day was in Ottawa. He wasn't signed yet. He wasn't with WWE or anything. He was just a guy working the independents. I think he was actually with Ring of Honor at the time. And so I was doing pretty good. I was making friends with everybody. I had cornered John Laurinaitis, who's the head of talent relations, and because I'm all business when I'm there, and that's just me. It's like I'm focused on something. I go for it. I get it. That's it.
You're there to do a job, not to fucking eat ice cream.
Exactly. And you got a bunch of guys, laughing it up, talking about Hulk Hogan and stuff in the changing room. It's like, why am I here in a glorified janitor's closet with a bunch of guys who are never gonna do anything in the business here?
All right, I like your
they're
attitude.
laughing, having a good time. It's like, no, I'm serious. So, anyways, he was there, and I cornered John Laurinaitis, and I could see he was one of the guys, peering his head around the corner of what's going on here? Thinking? I don't know what he's thinking. I can't put myself in his head, but anyways, Laurinaitis eventually took a liking to me because I stood up to him. I had a good amount of confidence and whatnot. Answered some of his trick questions with ease. They took me away. They brought me into a room, shot some promos with me. They wanted to hear how I talked, so we did that. The other guys, I don't know. They weren't really taking a look at any of the other guys like Zayn and all them. And then the next day, as soon as I get there, change into my gear, I'm down by ringside because Laurinaitis had told me, we're going to get you in the ring. We're going to take a look at you. So I'm ready to go. And Kurt Hawkins and Lance Archer, I don't know if you know who they are. Lance Archer's in AEW. Kurt Hawkins is with Impact Wrestling. They were in WWE at the time. And they come up to me and they're like, are you Jeremy? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, we're going to wrestle you tonight on SmackDown. I'm like, okay, cool. So they're like, yeah, Pat Patterson told us that you're really good. So, we're going to wrestle you tonight on SmackDown. So I already have that match. Everything's good. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm standing by where the ring steps are. Zayn and Jamie Noble and Billy Kidman are standing in the entranceway. Pretty much. So we're not far from each other. Like I'm as close to Zayn as I am to Poseidon over there.
Okay.
So Kidman and Jamie Noble ask him, hey, we need one of these guys for a dark match. Who should we take? So he starts selling himself and he starts saying, oh, well, you could use me. And they're like, well, we don't know if we could use you. You're still under contract with Ring of Honor. And, you're El Generico. What could we call you? And he's like, well, maybe you could call me more Generico. Maybe, we could figure out something like that. And, I don't blame him for, trying to sell himself.
Yeah, he did the smart thing.
So then they're like, well, we can't do that. Like, but do you know any of these guys? And he's like, oh, well, I know this guy over here is a guy named Josh. I think Josh Abercrombie was his wrestling name. He's like, I know Josh over here. And then, they responded, well, no, we can't. That guy, he's too pathetic looking.
That's fine.
So then they said, what about me? They mentioned me. Now, Kidman knew of me because I had already done a week-long tryout in Florida for Florida Championship Wrestling. And Kidman really took a liking to me. And so they said, what about him? And he goes into this speech now, Zayn, Rami, goes into this speech about, oh, well, I don't really know him that much. I think he's kind of green, green being like inexperienced.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of green. I don't think he'd be the right. And the thing is, like most people, human nature, they kind of be like, okay, they're over there. They're talking about me. I'm going to be listening, but I'm like this. I'm like, go on. Talk about me. I wasn't doing that as a gesture, but I'm like, I want you to know I'm looking at you and I'm listening to everything that you are saying right now. And he's like, and he went on and he buried me to them. Now,
what?
So part of me is like, well, I already know I have the other match in my back pocket anyways, but I know they take a more serious look at you if it's in an actual dark match. It was going to be with Alberto Del Rio also.
What? That would have been a good fucking.
It would have been a great match. I got along super well with him the next set of tapings that I did with them in 2012. So that ends up happening, and he went on a bit more too, because then they said, and it's kind of confusing as to who he was talking about, because the next thing they said is, how about the big guy over there? So another wrestler named Drew Onyx, who was on one of our episodes, he felt like they were talking about him. I know there was another wrestler beside him too, a guy doing a cowboy gimmick. I think his name was Blackjack Phoenix. Was from the States. They could have been talking about him too. I don't know. They're both big guys. So I don't know. And he was like, oh, I don't really know that guy. And I know that, Drew Onyx had taken a bit of an exception to that because he thought it was about him. I don't know for sure. I know what I heard. I know the words I heard. I didn't hear him mentioned by name.
Yeah.
But they said, how about the big guy over there?
You only know about you that he was talking shit.
Oh, I know about me. Yeah. So we went back to catering and I came out of catering and I saw him walking down the hallway and I stopped him. And I said, so what was that about over there? And he starts going into this backpedaling. Well, man, I wasn't trying to put you down. I was trying to get it for me. I wasn't trying to, it wasn't about, trying to not get you the match. I just wanted them to consider me for it. I was the one that wanted it. And I see this, I see him start to melt there in front of me. And I'm like, so I could get the instant gratification of headbutting his two front teeth down his throat, but what's that?
It's not going to help.
What's that going to get me?
Yeah.
That's going to get me kicked out of here. That's going to make me lose the match that I already have.
They're going to say you're unstable.
It's going to. That I'm not worried about. I don't worry about how people.
I don't know, but one of my podcast friends, he's been called unstable. They keep throwing him in a mental hospital once a week.
I don't worry about it. I don't worry about how I'm perceived because the way people perceive me doesn't supersede my ability to want to be able to sleep at night satisfied with the person that I am and the level of integrity I carry myself with.
You wanted to, you're like, you know what, you're getting a headbutt.
But I didn't. I headbutt him. Yeah, in cold blood. Put his head through a windshield in cold blood. No word of a lie right there.
Wow.
But when it comes down to it. He had that moment. I decided to kind of let it go, but it was still very underhanded. Fast forward to a couple of years later, or maybe like a year.
Oh my God, the plot thickens.
Like a year later, I had an altercation with Kevin Owens.
What?
And it was very interesting. Well, yeah, because I don't let people look, even though these people have a little bit more experience.
That's not what I'm
than me,
saying. I'm just saying I'm surprised that they're all turning out to be assholes.
Well. Don't confuse Kevin with
okay, good.
No. Don't confuse Kevin with Rami because Kevin, I think, is a stand-up guy. I think Kevin actually has some balls. Yeah. That's why we got into this confrontation. Rami is a gutless serpent, but Kevin's okay in my book. So we got into an altercation. These things happen in wrestling. It's a testosterone-filled environment and whatnot. We got into an altercation. You can, go on YouTube and see other interviews where I explain it. But pretty much he had said something. So I had said, okay, let's go talk about it. Man to man, away from people. There's no witnesses. There's just you and me. And you'll notice in the world that when there's a crowd, people act differently than when you just get them one-on-one. So that's what I wanted to do there with Kevin. And I'm like, if we got to fight, we got to fight. I don't mind. So we started talking. Amidst our disagreements and whatnot, we start to establish some common ground. And even he himself said, Rami told me that, he told them that you were green and all those things. And he said, he couldn't have allowed you to get that because you'd be too outlandish about it. You'd throw it in everybody's face. So this is why I say he put the knife in my back. I had never said a cross word about the guy up until that moment. I thought we were actually kind of cool. We were not in each other's lanes. I remember even after one of those WWE events, hanging out with him outside the Marriott there, outside the hotel, same thing, wanting to meet wrestlers and all that. Remember talking to him on MSN back in the day a couple of times, asking, for some advice here and there. There was never any animosity. And then he put a knife in my back based on rumors, hearsay, stuff, reading on the internet, all that kind of stuff. But to me, it's just like, who are you to judge, me getting an opportunity and I'd be too outlandish about it and whatnot. It's like, no, I work damn hard. I work harder than you, clearly, judging by the, pathetic little milk bottle of a physique that you go around with in your day-to-day life. I've worked pretty hard in the ring. My body stayed intact, unlike you with, two bad shoulders and having to get shots in your neck so that you can prolong what's left of your career. Look, when it comes down to it, I've been blessed with a lot of things, but I've also worked very hard to get to where I am. So, to go and put a knife in my back to a guy who's never put a knife in anybody's back, because in my opinion, if you got to put a knife in somebody's back, all that means to me is maybe you should just work a little bit harder and then you can get to that same level. I never put a knife in anybody's back, never screwed anybody over in the wrestling business. So for someone to do that to me, I think it's pretty low. And like I said, everyone you see on the way up, you're going to see them on the way down. And so that's when it comes down to it, is that I know I have more good years ahead of me than he does in his career. I have less miles on my body, and I think I'm just built for this a lot more than he is. And, if he ever would want to cross paths with me, I'm not squashing this beef. This is not some kind of a thing of, we'll talk it out. We'll have a handshake. Oh, we'll get along. Oh, we'll be smiling in pictures together. No, I can hold a grudge for a very long time. In fact, I think it's very therapeutic for me to actually hold a grudge, because I think it's a human weakness to sometimes let grudges go and to forgive and forget, because I don't forgive and I don't forget.
I agree with some grudges you can't, but some grudges I feel like you could. I don't know about this one. Imagine, because he's got an open invite now, because I want to hear his side of the story. Imagine he comes on and he's like, Jeremy Prophet raped me. And they're like, oh, fuck. No wonder he's mad, But I doubt that's going to happen.